We've been to Morocco and back, and Nigeria holds 3 of the chairmanship seats within the caucus she belongs. Foreign exchange volatility persists just as Nigeria's food inflation rises above 30%, the highest level ever. What do you know about the information you put out there, and who is having access to them? That is our focus on this edition of the program. Remember, we also have our complimentary segment, Simplify This, where we educate you, and also the market segments, where we give you prices of food commodity in markets around you. My name is Leah Kating-Babatunde, welcoming you to this very insightful episode. The policy returns in a moment. We begin the business of the day by taking you around the economy for major happenings.
The Intergovernmental Group of 24 on International Monetary Affairs and Development, known as G24, at the just concluded annual meetings of the World Bank and IMF, called for immediate global actions to assist developing countries in managing their escalating debt vulnerabilities. The G24 is a group of developing countries that was established in 1971 with a goal to work together to coordinate the positions of developing countries on international monetary and development finance issues. Director of the G24 Secretariat Iyabo Masha says there has to be a concerted effort in addressing global shocks as Nigeria battles a foreign exchange crisis fueled by rising inflation.
The point is that they're driven from 2 different forces. One is the external forces, like things happening beyond countries' control, say the rising interest rates in advanced economies. The second one is domestic policies. So for a country like Nigeria, or indeed any other country, they will need to strengthen their domestic policies. They need to be more focused on domestic production, domestic demand. So that way they can reduce their demand for foreign currency and be able to address some of those exchange rate volatility. But on the part of the global community, they would then step in with financing, with some form of debt relief to assist these countries. So it's a two-way traffic, and both sides have to play their role.
Headline inflation increased to 26.72% in September 2023 from the August 2023 headline inflation rate, which was 25.8%. The September 2023 headline inflation rate showed an increase of 0.92 percentage points when compared to August 2023 headline inflation rate. The National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) in its latest release revealed that on a year-on-year basis, the headline inflation rate was 5.94 percentage points higher compared to the rate recorded in September 2022, which was 20.77%. On a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate in September 2023 was 2.1%, which was 1.08% lower than the rate recorded in August 2023. The increase in the headline index for September 2023 was attributed to the increase in some items in the basket of goods and services at the divisional level. The food sub-index for September 2023 increased to 30.64% on a year-on-year basis, which was 7.30 points higher compared to the rate recorded in September last year. The rise in food inflation on a year-on-year basis was attributed to increases in prices of oil and fat, bread and cereals, potatoes, yam and other tubers, fish, fruits, meat, vegetables and milk, cheese and eggs. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the request of the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC), Professor Bolaji Owasanoye, to commence his pre-end of tenure leave beginning on November 4, 2023. The president has already approved the appointment of a new management team for the commission, Dr. Musa Adamu Aliyu as the chairman and chief executive officer, and Clifford Okudiri-Okparaldu to serve as secretary. The ICPC in a statement said its boss had last week communicated his desire to proceed on his pre-exit leave to the president through the secretary to the government of the Federation, Senator George Akume. He leaves behind 98-page compendium that shows 104.696 billion naira cash recovery, with the highest sum achieved in 2022. while assets recovered, restrained, seized or forfeited totaled 450.999 billion naira within 2019 and 2022. The Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, has tasked the private sector to rise up to the challenge of sourcing long-term financing from the capital market that would fund the provision of infrastructure in the West African sub-region. Yuguda stated this at a pre-event press briefing on the forthcoming West Africa Capital Market Conference scheduled to hold in Lagos October 25th to the 26th with the theme Infrastructural Deficit and Sustainable Financing in an Integrated West Africa Capital Market. He disclosed that in many countries, the responsibility for the provision of infrastructure has been steadily moving away from government to the private sector, owing to increasing demand and reduced ability of the government to fund infrastructure alone. Adding that the need to tackle the infrastructure deficit in the sub-region, as well as embrace principles of sustainable finance to promote economic development, are some of the issues to be discussed at the conference. The conference is being jointly organized by the West Africa Securities Regulators Association, WASRA.
President Bola Tinubu on June 12, 2023 signed the Nigeria Data Protection Bill 2023 into law as Nigeria Data Protection Act 2023. The act establishes the legal framework for the regulation of personal data in Nigeria and replaces the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation 2019 and the NDPR Implementation Framework 2019 issued under the National Information Technology Development Agency NITDA Act. The key provision of that act is the establishment of the Nigeria Data Protection Commission and a governing council for the commission. Today you find personal information that have no business actually being out there in the public space, and you begin to wonder how. Well, we've got you covered on this edition. You and your personal data is our focus this morning. Data breaches occur all over the world, but the real issue is how fast or how soon do they get resolved. In Nigeria, since the advent of COVID-19, the digital space has grown exponentially, and so also your exposure. Dr. Vincent Olatunji is the National Commissioner and the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Data Protection Commission right here in Abuja. It's nice to have you, sir, on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So perhaps I start by asking you, at what point do I get to say my data has been breached and what do I do about it?
Looking at the way or manner that data could be breached, we have to start from your right as a data subject and the lawful basis for the processing of your data. That is, is it transparent, whoever is collecting your data? Is that process transparent enough? Is it fair to you? And is it lawful? Because there are lawful basis through which you can process. And the first thing they need to do is to ensure that your consent is freely given by you by saying, yes, I agree, I want to give you my data. The moment, and you can process this data for so many bases, can be for your vital interest, can be for public interest, can be for obligatory basis, it can be for contractual basis. Maybe your employer, between employee and employer, is on contractual basis. For organizations like the law enforcement agents, if they want to collect your data, it should be maybe for legal, obligatory, or public interest. Maybe in the cause of do one thing. That for the vital interest, maybe somebody another age child that cannot decide on his right. Maybe the guardian or the parent can decide on his behalf. For instance, if there was an accident and the fellow is unconscious and they have to do blood transfusion, that fellow will not be there to give consent. Somebody can take that decision on your behalf. These are basis on which data could be processed. Now, coming to the right of data subjects, there is the right, the consent, which is number one, the right to be informed why they are collecting your data, for what purpose, how long do they want to store it, who are they sharing it, what are they putting in place to ensure that data is protected. Right of access, you have the right to your data, right of rectification. If there's anything you want to rectify, your record is not correct and you want to, that right is there. Right of be forgotten, right of erasure, right of refusal of profile. These are your rights. If any of these rights, any, is violated, that is a breach on its own. Or if there's any unauthorized access to your information or to your data with a data controller, a data processor, that is a breach. Now, in terms of obligations, in terms of accountability, any data controller or data processor must put in place appropriate safeguards in terms of technical measures, in terms of organizational measures to prevent unauthorized access to the data with them.
So over time, at what point, what have you concluded to be the most risky action that has caused Nigerians to lose data or to get those forms of exposure that affect them negatively?
Lack of awareness on the part of data subjects. That is one. The other thing is nonchalant attitude about who they give their data to, who is in charge of their data, who holds their data. These are major problems. For instance, you want to introduce data privacy to some people, the so-called learned people, and even some people in positions of authority. You tell them it is really important for you to put in place measures to protect your own data, or if you are giving your data to anybody, it is very important to ensure that such data controller processor, that they put in place measures to protect your data. What you hear is, what is protection? I've been giving out my data, nothing has happened to me. Not until you now really give them practical examples. For instance, somebody went to see a doctor, and the next thing, a woman, and the next thing is that they are saying the woman has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. A woman. How can a woman have prostate cancer? Or somebody that has gone to the hospital is diagnosed with HIV/AIDS. Before he gets up, his neighbors are already aware that he has it. How did they get to know? Leakage of information about him. Or somebody that went to the hospital as well, he was diagnosed, he had diabetes, he was diagnosed. The process of prescribing the drugs for him, they prescribed a wrong drug, or the fellow entering the prescription made a wrong entry. By the time they had administered the medication on him, he lost one eye due to wrong administration of medication to him. These are things that are around data breaches. Or somebody that kept his money with the bank, and one day he wakes up and saw that millions of money have been removed from the account. Yet he did not authorize that. So how did it happen? Or somebody has gone to a bank to open an account. The following day, you are getting a call from somebody, that you came to our bank yesterday, you just opened your account number, we are sending a code to you, please, whatever happens, send this back to us for us to complete your account opening process. Whereas the account has been completed. Through that code, they have access to your account, they keep drawing your money. Or you go to a bank, you see they are registered, maybe you want to change your card, your ATM card or whatever. The nice thing is, when it is ready, they tell you to fill your name, your account number, your telephone number, your home address, your signature. And you have a whole number of people on the same sheet. Somebody can just come there, snap the paper, and start making calls to the account owners. They will give you your phone number, they give you your account number. So they have access. How? This is negligence on the part of the bank. These are all things that are around data breaches, which until you now really properly explain to data subjects, we then, truly, so this is happening to me. Or these digital lending companies that will give out loan to economically vulnerable group of the society. If you default once or twice, they start circulating your image that this fellow is a criminal, this fellow is DDD. There was a woman that actually committed suicide, that she couldn't bear the shame. Or a driver that his father received such a call the man was already suffering from hypertension, high blood pressure. The next thing, the man dropped dead because of the kind of message they sent. So it actually led to death in some cases. So these are issues around data privacy and data protection. And that's why we keep putting the responsibility to data controller who have your data to ensure that all these things, they don't allow these things to happen.
So when these breaches occur and there's a need to seek redress, where does your agency come in?
Now we have a law in charge of data protection in Nigeria. That law will not implement itself.
Yeah.
If it's just signed and put on the shelf, nothing will happen. And that was why the commission was established to ensure that that law is fully implemented. So we are here for the regulation of personal data processing in Nigeria. And through our activities, especially in the area of creating awareness and encouraging data subjects to know their rights or to ensure that their rights are not violated, to a large extent, that will reduce the extent of breaches and by extension, the cost too, on the part of data controller and the data processor and the data subjects. And also creating awareness to the data controllers and processors for them to know that they have that obligation, they owe us that duty of care to ensure that the data with them is secured, is saved, and processed within the provisions of the law in this country. Because since we have a law now, anything they are doing, in terms of their data processing activities, in terms of their data privacy, in terms of training of the staff, the competence, capacity, the knowledge of the staff in the area of data privacy and protection, to ensure that they put in place a very solid team who properly understand the issues around data privacy and protection and the law. That would to large extent save them a lot of cost. And cost can be in so many ways. One, financial loss, either to data subject or to data controller and processor, because we have actually fined some organizations. They've actually paid some penalties. So in terms of naira and kobo, it's a huge cost. In terms of reputational damage, I'll give an example. When we started investigating a bank, I made it public. A lot of their shareholders started withdrawing their shares. A lot of their customers started withdrawing their monies because some didn't even understand what it meant to say data breach. But they were investigating and said, oh, there's a problem with that organization. Please, I don't want to do any business with them. Mm-hmm. 3, loss of trust and confidence. Because any transaction, any business you carry out online, there should be an element of trust. Trust and confidence that you want to have an interaction, a transaction, and there is trust that transaction will go on smoothly without any hitch. That is 1. 2, trust and confidence that there will be no personal loss to me in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of whatever. That is 2. 3, in terms of the fact that if there is any loss, that trust will be lost completely. And gradually, the company will start going down. The personal loss will be in terms of financial loss to the data subject, in terms of health, like the fellow that lost his eye because of mismanagement of data that led to wrong application of medication to it can also lead to death. These are different kinds of losses that are available. But because we have the law now, and we have the commission, to a large extent, we are trying to see how we can bring it down. And it's actually paying off already. Okay. Because companies are putting in place extra measures now to ensure that data within the custody is adequately protected.
So in terms of interagency relationship, now looking at your mandate, how do you relate with other agencies to ensure that Nigerians are protected?
That is one of our very strong points where we have developed our strength in working with other organizations, especially the regulators of different sectors. For instance, you look at the gaming sector, on every month, you have about 60 million Nigerians engaged in one gaming, lottery, betting activity. over 60 million Nigerians out of 220 million. You know, that is really huge. That's about 1/4 of the total population. This is a huge sector. So we have to work with the regulator, the Lottery Commission, to say for your stakeholders in this sector, those who have license to carry out this business in Nigeria, do they know about data privacy and protection? Please let them know. And by extension, the data subjects to know their rights. We are working with them. The health sector, another example, National Health Insurance Authority. These are even sensitive data that they handle in that sector. We are working with NHI to ensure that the data of Nigerians with their stakeholders are regularly protected. The transport sector, we are working with NITT, Zaria, and so many others, like the FCCPC for consumer protection, we are working with them. CBN, we are working with them. NCC, we are working with them. India, we are working. All Ndpc, we are working with them. A lot of organizations that we are partnering with, especially regulators, for us to be able to introduce the issue of data privacy and protection to their sectors, and for them to have appropriate guidance on what they need to put in place. Even the security arm of government, we are working with them to ensure that we have proper guidance to whatever they do in the collection, the processing, storage, and sharing of data that's will be in their custody.
So what's the duty of the average Nigerian out there regarding their data, and what does he or she need to do to protect themselves?
The duty is to ensure that you put in place measures to protect your own data. If anybody is asking for your data, you need to know why they're asking for such data. What do they want to use it for? Where are they storing it? What safeguards have they put in place to ensure that such data is protected? Are they sharing with a third party? For how long do they want to store such data? If I say I want to have access to it, will I have it as easy as what I'm giving out such data? These are things that are right that we need to put in place. Also, when you go online, don't be too quick to click yes. Read the privacy policy, read the terms of engagement for you to probably understand what they want to collect from you and how they want to, before you click yes. You need to understand this, and that is why we're also telling data controllers and processors to ensure that their data privacy policy is simple, straightforward, and easy to understand. Not all this lengthy data privacy that before you even finish reading,
you've clicked the yes.
Yes. So these are things that we need to put in place. Data subjects also that they have rights, and they need to protect such rights whenever anybody is asking for their data. If these rights are not respected by data controller and data processor, don't give them your data. You can ask that you want to have access to your data. There is data portability. I want to move my data from you to this, and I don't want you to keep my data anymore. These are your rights, which you must know as a data subject. And if you know that, you are sure that, yes, there will be accidents. Nobody is above mistake. If it happens accidentally, yes, it was a mistake. Not that out of ignorance, you give out what you're not supposed to give out. And even if the kind of data they are collecting, if they are asking more than what they need, you have the right to say, no, you don't need this. All you need is my name and telephone number. With that, I think you're okay. Or if you have my name, why are you asking for my house address again? Or why are you asking for other information that the name will have covered? These are things that their subjects need to do for them to ensure that their data is protected. And if there's any breach, they have the right to report to us, and we'll take it up immediately. And that's our work here.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Doctor, for making our time for this conversation.
My name is Aldumi Ikori.
Keep watching the Policy with Leah.
It aims to provide policymakers an opportunity to explain their policies in a way that members of the public affected by those policies can understand and engage with those policies.
Keep watching the Policy with Leah.
Because we're focused on your rights and obligations on this episode, we've decided to simplify for you the word credit. And from there, we take a trip to the market square. For more on rates in markets around you, do well to log on to our sister website www.marketnigertv.com. Also be informed that we have this episode and every other one on our YouTube channel at sabanmediaservices.com. Do well to also follow us on our various social media platforms and engage with us. Give us your insights, your questions and suggestions, and of course we're going to give you the desired feedback. The program returns next week. My name is Leah Babatunde saying have a pleasant weekend and God bless Nigeria. Be safe out there, folks.